All right, so here's part two of the special senses. But before we start this one, just to something I forgot to mention from the previous video. So for the next quiz or quiz two, the one that's coming up, I'm not gonna have you know these mechanisms for a long response. So you do have to be familiar with them. So you still have to look at them. You have to know what's going on here. But these questions will come will be represented in either a true or false or a multiple choice type question. Um, The long response for the upcoming quiz is going to be on the action potential. Okay, so you should know the action potential very well. Okay, so here's part two, smell and taste. Smell and taste are complementary senses that let us know whether a substance could be enjoyed or avoided. And the chemoreceptors are the ones that are used by these two sensations. So chemicals have to be dissolved in an aqueous solution to be picked up by the chemoreceptors. For smell, the smell receptors are excited by chemicals that are dissolved in nasal fluid. And for taste receptors, these respond to chemicals that are dissolved in saliva. So starting with the olfactory receptors, so if we look here at the nasal cavity, so the space that's here right behind your nose, that's going to contain the the main organ that's used in smell. So that's called the olfactory epithelium. So that's going to be the covering here of this chamber, the nasal cavity. So this is going to cover the superior nasal conchae, which are these plates here. The nasal conchae are plates that help create turbulence. When you breathe in air or when you inhale air, these these plates create air passages and it just helps create turbulence to humidify the air. So the so here at the olfactory epithelium, that's going to contain the olfactory sensory neurons. That's going to include the bipolar neurons with the cilia and supporting cells that are going to be around the olfactory receptor cells. So olfactory neurons are usually bipolar neurons. They have thin apical dendrites that terminate in a knob. They're long, largely non-motile cilia, which are called olfactory cilia. They radiate from the knob. So these are covered by mucus, which is a solvent for odorants. And the bundles of non-myelinated axons of the olfactory receptor cells gather in fascicles that make up the filaments of the olfactory nerve. So cranial nerve number one. Okay, so here you can see the olfactory tract. So if you remember from anatomy, uh, if you did the sheep brain dissection for cranial nerve number one, really what you were seeing was the tract. So you weren't seeing the actual nerve, you were seeing the tract of the nerves. The actual olfactory nerves are the ones that are running from the olfactory bulb. So they're running through these little openings, which are the little pores that are found on the cribriform plate. So another structure that you probably remember from anatomy. So this is located at you could see this plate from the superior view of the skull. So this is where through these little openings, that's where the olfactory nerves are running through. So in order to smell a substance, it has to be volatile. So it has to be in a gaseous state. And the odorant has to be able to dissolve in olfactory epithelium fluid. And the activation of olfactory sensory neurons happens because the dissolved odorants bind to receptor proteins in the olfactory cilium membranes. And then they open the cation channels, so positive ions, and these are going to generate the receptor potential. And then at threshold, the action potential is going to be conducted uh, to the olfactory bulb. So here's the olfactory transduction process. So we're just going to start here when the odorant, so those smell molecules, they're going to bind to the receptor. The receptor is then going to activate the G protein. Okay. And the G protein is going to activate the enzyme adenylate cyclase. And then adenylate cyclase is going to convert ATP to cyclic AMP. Okay. And then the cyclic AMP is going to open the cation channels, and that's going to allow for sodium and calcium to come in. And that is going to cause depolarization, because these are positively charged, and when they move in, they're going to make the inside less negative, so it's going to depolarize. Taste buds, these are sensory organs for taste. So most of the taste buds, around 10,000, are going to be located in the papillae, which are the little structures that are on the tongue. And you can actually see these when you stick your tongue out. If you look closely, they're like the little bumps. So there's different types. There's the foliate papillae, there's the fungiform papillae, the valate papillae, and the taste buds are located within those structures. So we zoom into a papilla. You can see that the taste buds are here within it. So there's several taste buds here. Okay, so that's the actual taste bud. So and those have the taste pores. Okay, so the chemical that's dissolved in the saliva is going to be, it's going to go through here. There's 5 basic taste sensations. There's sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. The sweet, that's the one that detects sugars, saccharin, alcohol, and some amino acids. There's sour, which is detected, which is caused by the presence of hydrogen ions in a solution. There's salty, which is because of the metal ions, so like inorganic salts, like sodium chloride. There's bitter, which is caused by the alkaloids, such as quinine, nicotine, caffeine. And then there's umami, which is from it's detected by the amino acids, so like glutamate and aspartate. So examples could be like cheese, taste, and the monosodium glutamate. So MSG, that's a food additive. So to be able to taste, the chemical has to dissolve in saliva, and then it has to diffuse into the taste pore. And then there, it has to contact the gustatory cell, the gustatory hairs, which are these. Oops. Okay. And so the important roles of taste include triggering reflexes that are involved in digestion, like secreting saliva into the mouth, and also increasing the gastric juice in the stomach to break down the food that you take in. And then there's also protective reactions like gagging or vomiting. So if something's, it's your body's way to protect you from, usually it's caused by things that are too bitter, or like if something's rotten, then obviously your body has a defense mechanism that will make you throw up or to gag to keep you from eating it. Taste is 80% smell. So you've probably experienced this when you have a cold or flu and you have a stuffy nose. It's going to be hard for you to taste anything that you eat or drink. The mouth is also going to contain different types of receptors. So thermoreceptors, mechanoreceptors, and nociceptors. That's because temperature and texture could enhance or detract from taste. Spicy foods can also excite pain receptors in the mouth. So this is the burning sensation that you get when you eat spicy food. It's because those pain receptors are activated. Okay, and that's going to do it for this chapter.